Ankara in Turkey up until 1997. And some of these operatives dealt with him, and they were doing certain operations in Central Asia for him. I don't know who he was working for, Mr. Grossman, at the time for his operations. It's hard for me to tell. He was involved in so many different things, and I don't know which one constitutes the biggest reason he was providing this.
Just going back to the Israeli, we've talked mostly about the Turkish organizations, yes. Turkish government. Are you aware of either Israeli government or Israeli organizations influencing members of Congress as well?
Not directly. Not directly.
Indirectly?
Indirectly, based on how they work, some of the largest Israeli lobby groups with the entities such as AP and also the Turkish diplomatic community, and how they actually train and make it possible for the Turkish lobby and these entities to do it. They had training period between 96 and 98 from individuals that were sent to them from both AIPAC and JINSA, both on the lobbying but also on covering the money track, covering up the money track.
One of the other entries on your Wikipedia entry indicates that you had accused Mr. Hastert and members of the U.S. government of, let me make sure I'm reading this correctly. The entry says Edmonds also accuses Dennis Hastert of taking bribes. I think we've talked about that a little bit, correct?
Yes.
And then it says, and high-ranking members of the U.S. government of nuclear secrets to Turkey and Pakistan. Did you allege that high-ranking members of the U.S. government had sold nuclear secrets to Turkey and Pakistan?
They were involved in operations that were obtaining illegally U.S. weapons and nuclear-related technology and sell it to foreign governments and also foreign independent operatives.
Now, one of the other entries indicates it says 911 foreknowledge. And I'll just read it. It says, she claims that the FBI received information in April 2001 from a reliable Iranian intelligence asset that Osama bin Laden was planning attacks on 4 to 5 cities with planes. Some of the people were already in the country, and the attacks would happen in a few months. Did you make that claim?
I took the language specialist, Farsi-speaking language specialist, a senior language specialist from the Iranian division, Farsi division in FBI Washington field office, who worked right next to me, to the 9/11 Commission and Inspector General's office, and he testified on this. He informed me and he showed me this translator, Behruz Sashar, and there are documents out there that he went to Inspector General's office. He gave them the documents, the translated documents on the Iranians. I was not part of that translation. I was not involved. After I left the FBI, because I was witness to that departments, what they had obtained, I just facilitated Mr. Sashar's meeting with 9/11 Commission and also with the Glenn Fine, Department of Justice Inspector General's office, and I put him in touch with the members of media, but that's my only involvement with that Iranian case.
And do you believe that that's why the 9/11, the families of 9/11 victims wanted to get your testimony in connection with their case?
I am not sure, because as far as I knew, it had to do with the government of Saudi Arabia and the Saudi Arabian financial institutions. I was not told anything about Iranian case.
We've talked about some members of Congress having connections with the Turkish government or Turkish organizations. Are there others that you're aware of, other than the ones we've discussed already?
Congressional members?
Congressional members?
Yes.
Can you identify some of them?
Their pictures are on I have pictures included on my website, and they can be identified. There are several there, outside the ones you named.
All right. I looked at the website but didn't recognize some of them. So would you be able to tell me who the other pictures are?
Others have been identified. They're all identified as public information.
Yeah.
Okay. Tom Lantis is one of them. I believe he passed away. And Tom Lantis' office would be not only with the bribe, but also in disclosing highest level protected U.S. intelligence and weapons technology information both to Israel and to Turkey. His office was also involved with that. It was not only bribery, but it was other very serious criminal conduct. I think Roy Blunt is there. There's an individual with a question mark there. The reason it's a question mark is I was terminated by April 2002, but this particular congresswoman, these Turkish organizations and operatives, if they can't do it via money, they do via blackmail. So they collect information on sexual lives and other information like that. Mm-hmm. And with this particular congresswoman, between 2000 and until I left, this congresswoman is married with children, grown children, but she is bisexual. So they had sent Turkish female agents, and that Turkish female agent worked for Turkish government, and had sexual relationship with this congresswoman in her townhouse actually in this area. And the entire episodes of their sexual conduct was being filmed because the entire house, this congressional woman's house, was bugged. And so they had all that documented to be used for certain things that they wanted to request, but I left, so I don't know whether that congresswoman complied and gave. That's why I couldn't use her name, because her face, because I don't know if she did anything illegal afterwards. But information was being collected for blackmail purposes and her lesbian relationship, and the Turkish entities wanted both congressional related favoritism from her, but also her husband was in a high position in the area in the state she was elected from, and these Turkish entities ran certain illegal operations, and they wanted her husband's help. But I don't know if she provided them with those. I left. I was terminated.
Can you tell me how you know all of that? Everything you just told me?
I can't discuss the intelligence gathering method by the FBI, but in general terms, when foreign targets among themselves discuss how they were going to achieve certain goals, objectives, and if those communications are collected and recorded, not only that you have communication, but you, in some cases, the involved field office can send surveillance team to see that actually they implemented. For example, if they say somebody says at 5 o'clock we're going to bug this house, the surveillance team would go and see that, in fact, these people broke in. And so there were various ways that things were collected.
Right. So, just to make sure I understand this, the Turkish entities were at least preparing to blackmail this congresswoman.
Correct.
And is this congresswoman still a sitting member of Congress?
Yes.
And why, if you know, they want to blackmail this congresswoman?
I don't know what reasons they had, why they just didn't do money. They needed... I was trained as a language specialist by my agent to find pertinent information. And one of the things that we were taught in the FBI, everyone was taught in the counterintelligence, that the target U.S. persons, whether they are in Congress or executive branch or wherever, first go by foreign entities through what they refer to as hooking period. And it was very common.